Hey friends, today I'm going to walk you through the yarn weight family. Now, unlike human families, the yarn weight family is not dysfunctional, cold and withholding, or the source of family trauma that takes years to unravel. Pun intended. This is a warm, happy, and unproblematic family. Yay! So if you're confused about the different weights of yarn, what they are, why they exist, and how they relate to you as a knitter, then this video is for you. Learning about yarn weights will make you a more intelligent and informed knitter. So you gotta know the yarn weight family. I'll also cover a really nifty technique to figure out what yarn weight you have when you have mystery yarn using just a pencil. So stick to the end of the video for that. If you're new here, hi, I'm Davina. I run sheepandstitch.com, where I try to make knitting fun and accessible through video tutorials and patterns, all while not being replaced by AI. Welcome, I am a human. So there's something called the standard yarn weight system, and most knitters and crocheters use this to talk about yarn weights. Yarns are categorized from 0 to 7, with 0 being the lightest and 7 being the heaviest yarn weight. So let's meet all the members of the yarn weight family, starting with 0. Size 0 is called lace weight, or also 10 count crochet thread. This is a super fine yarn that's just a hair thicker than sewing thread. It's used to knit or crochet really intricate lace patterns like shawls or doilies. The result is a cobweb-like fabric that's delicate and ethereal. These days it's really trendy to knit with a lace weight mohair together with a thicker yarn to produce a fabric that is both fuzzy and warm. I think of lace weight yarn like the baby Yoda of the yarn weight family. He's small and cute, delicate, but full of possibilities. Needle sizes can be as tiny as 1.5 to 2.25 millimeters, but lace is normally knit with larger needles up to 4.5 millimeters to create an open and lacy fabric. Lace yarn is rarely used to knit a firm, compact fabric. The tiny needles alone would just kill your hands. Super fine weight yarn is also known as number 1 yarn, but I've also heard it called sock weight or fingering weight yarn. In the UK and Australia, it's sometimes called 4-ply yarn. So 4-ply weight yarn doesn't necessarily have 4 plies of yarn. Plies are fibers that are twisted together to make an individual yarn strand. So while a yarn could be a 4-ply weight, it doesn't necessarily need to have 4 plies. So this yarn weight is commonly used to knit socks, but it can also be used to knit shawls or mittens, sweaters, and cardigans. They would be very fine and it would take a long time to knit because of how tiny the yarn is. Superfine yarn is slightly thicker than lace weight and uses the tiniest needles. I think of superfine yarn as like the popular toddler of the yarn family. She's fun and charismatic, she can do a lot of stuff and be knit into a lot of things. She's tiny, but everybody loves her. She's the Shirley Temple of the yarn weight family. Knitting gauge is 6 to 8 stitches per inch with 2.25 to 3.25 millimeter needles. Crochet gauge is 5 to 8 stitches per inch with a 2.25 to 3.5 millimeter hook. Size 2 yarn is also called fine yarn or sport weight yarn. It's called sport weight because this yarn is light and breathable, which makes it perfect for sportswear. It's also popular for baby and children's clothes and accessories like these fingerless mitts that I designed. Link in the description. This yarn weight is giving sporty, light, youthful, so I'm thinking like Kevin Arnold from the Wonder Years. I know it's a bit of a stretch, so if you can think of a better character, then let me know down in the comments. Knitting gauge is 5 to 6.5 stitches per inch with a 3.25 to 3.75 millimeter needle. Crochet gauge is 4 to 5 stitches per inch with a 3.5 to 4.5 millimeter hook. Number 3 light yarn is also called DK weight or light worsted weight yarn. I find the term DK weight to be more popular in Europe and the UK, but less so in North America. I consider DK weight the Jan Brady of the yarn weight family. She's the middle child between light and medium weight yarns. She can do a lot, but she's not as popular as her older sister, who we'll get to in a second. Marcia! Knitting gauge is 5 to 6 stitches per inch with a 3.75 to 4.5 millimeter needle. Crochet gauge is 3 to 4.5 stitches per inch with a 4.5 to 5.5 millimeter hook. Number 4 is medium weight yarn. It's also called Aran or worsted weight yarn. I find that the term Aran is used more in the UK and Europe, whereas in North America we call it worsted weight. Worsted weight yarn is the most popular yarn for knitters and crocheters. It's like the all-purpose yarn for crafting. It's neither too light nor too heavy, it's just right. Worsted yarn is used to knit everything. Socks like my simple shorty socks, hats like my slouchy hat, and blankets like my baby bobble blanket, and everything in between can be knit with worsted yarn. Worsted weight yarn is like the Marcia Brady of the yarn weight family. She's the golden child that everyone loves and can't get enough of.
Sure, Jan.
Knitting gauge is 4 to 5 stitches per inch with a 4.5 to 5.5 millimeter needle. Crochet gauge is 2 to 3 stitches per inch with a 6.5 to 9 millimeter hook. Number 5 yarn is called bulky, chunky, or craft weight yarn. Bulky yarn is cozy and thick. It knits up really quickly, which makes it a great instant gratification yarn. Because the yarn is thick, you're going to be using it for cold weather projects like blankets, jackets, leg warmers, that kind of thing. You're not going to use it for light spring and summer projects. Because of its sturdy weight and warmth, I think of bulky weight yarn as like the reliable older brother. He's the Ross Geller or Carlton Banks of the yarn weight family. Solid, substantial, dependable, but with a surprising fun side. Knitting gauge is 3 to 4 stitches per inch with a 5.5 to 8 millimeter needle. Crochet gauge is 2 to 3 stitches per inch with a 6.5 to 9 millimeter hook. Number 6 yarn is super bulky weight. It's also called roving. This is a winter yarn that's really thick and warm. It's usually made of wool, alpaca, or acrylic, or a blend of these fibers. You're unlikely to find super bulky yarn in plant fibers like cotton, bamboo, or linen. Because it's so thick, it's meant to keep you warm. This is very much a winter weather yarn weight. Roving actually refers to partially processed fiber. It's kind of like loose, wispy fiber. Traditionally, roving is spun into yarn before it can be used. So now the word roving is sometimes used to refer to super bulky yarn, especially if the yarn is a 1-ply. Inspired by this word, I think of this yarn weight like a roving dog, like a big old dog like Clifford, or any big dog that you can climb on like a furry mountain. Super bulky yarn is one of my favorite yarn weights, and I've got so many patterns designed around it. So check out these if you want to knit with the goofiest fluffy boy. Knitting gauge is 1.75 to 2.75 stitches per inch with an 8 to 12.75 millimeter needle. Crochet gauge is 1.75 to 2.25 stitches per inch with a 9 to 15 millimeter hook. This yarn, as the name implies, is really super big. It's an absolute unit. Jumbo yarn is most commonly used for arm knitting to make baskets, rugs, floor poofs, or like really enormous throw blankets. For a while, these were all over Pinterest and Instagram. While it's common to arm knit with yarn of this size, you can also use like giant knitting needles or crochet hooks, but it's just not that comfortable. Because this yarn is really heavy, it can cause strain on your arms and shoulders as you're working it. Thankfully, the projects come together really quickly because the yarn is so super big. Jumbo yarn is like the Paul Bunyan of the yarn weight family. Like actual giants, jumbo yarn is a rare sighting. This is a specialty item, so not all yarn stores are going to carry this yarn weight. Knitting gauge is 1.5 stitches or less per inch with a 12.75 millimeter needle or a 15 millimeter hook. Now that you've met the whole yarn weight family, I want to show you another method to identify and visualize yarn weights. So let's say you find some mystery yarn and there's no yarn label on it, so you have no real idea what the yarn weight is. You can use wraps per inch to figure out the yarn weight. Grab a pencil and wrap the mystery yarn around it for a few inches. The yarn should be snug but not tight, and the wraps should lay side by side against each other. Then measure how many wraps there are within an inch. This is the WPI, or wraps per inch. My mystery yarn has 8 wraps per inch, so according to this chart from the Craft Yarn Council, it's a bulky weight yarn. Mystery solved. All right, so that's a wrap on the yarn weight family. Yes, that was a pun that I just made up. I'm Davina from sheepandstitch.com. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!